Japan is known for its discipline, innovation, and relentless work ethic. But what happens when that dedication crosses the line into destruction? For decades, extreme workplace pressure has driven employees to dangerous limits, leading to stress-related deaths and a shocking rise in suicides. In 2023 alone, nearly 3,000 people took their own lives due to job stress. The government has introduced reforms to ease the burden, but despite these efforts, nothing seems to be working. So why can't Japan break free from a system that's pushing its own people to the brink? Well, like most things, it's not that simple. Japan's work culture is complicated, really complicated. There's no quick way to explain it, but one thing's for sure. It has a massive impact on the lives of the people who work there. Now, Japan doesn't necessarily have the longest work hours in the world, but that doesn't mean their work culture isn't intense. Back in 2015, plenty of people in their 30s and 40s were grinding away for 49 to 59 hours a week. And get this, around 15% of them were working over 60 hours a week. To make things worse, a lot of that overtime wasn't even paid. Imagine putting in all those extra hours and not seeing an extra dime. That kind of pressure? It wears you down. The pressure to work long hours, to never slow down, to always be productive. It takes a toll. Stress, burnout, depression, even heart disease. It's no surprise that Japan has one of the highest suicide rates in the world. And it's not just physical and mental health at stake. This constant grind is making it harder for people to start families. They're simply too exhausted to even think about marriage or kids. That's a big reason Japan's population is aging and shrinking. And taking time off? Forget about it. There's this deep-rooted stigma around taking a break, especially for mental health. People feel guilty, like they're slacking off, just for using their vacation days. Most don't even take all their paid time off. Some barely take 5 days off in an entire year. 5 days? That's insane if you ask me. Sure, things are slowly changing, but the shift isn't happening fast enough. There's this mentality in Japan, gamensuru, which basically means to endure, to push through no matter what. And that's exactly what a lot of companies expect from their employees. Feeling like your soul is being crushed by work? Got to gamensuru. Crying in the bathroom on your lunch break? Just part of the job apparently. Staying at the office hours after you've mentally checked out, just so your boss doesn't think you're slacking. Yeah, that's gamen too. It's no wonder Japan's economy isn't as efficient as it could be. But here's the thing. Japan isn't all that different from the US. People in both countries don't take as much paid time off as they probably should, especially when you compare it to Europe or some other parts of Asia. At the end of the day, Japanese workers go through the same daily grind as everyone else. Long commutes, frustrating bosses, office gossip, and maybe even a little flirting. They grab drinks after work, vent about their jobs, and sometimes just mess around. Sound familiar? But here's where it's different. Even though the standard workday is supposed to be 8 hours, it often stretches to 9 or 10. Commuting eats up another 30 minutes to an hour. And instead of just casually wasting time at work, people find ways to look busy, smoking breaks, staring at a screen with a serious expression, anything to keep up appearances. And even when they finally get a break, they don't know how to relax. Seriously, even if their boss tells them to go home early, they still feel like they should be working. What are they supposed to do? Watch a movie? Go to the park? Go on a date? It sounds strange, but companies actually need to teach employees how to unwind. Just saying no more overtime isn't enough. People need to unlearn the idea that rest equals laziness. In Japan, people work incredibly hard, but it doesn't always translate to productivity. A lot of the effort stays inward, focused on things that matter mainly within Japan, rather than on a global scale. And even when employees get time off, many still feel tied to their jobs. On top of that, firing someone is ridiculously difficult. Labor laws strongly favor employees, so companies worry about lawsuits if they try to let someone go. Quitting isn't much easier either. It's not just about handing in a resignation letter. In Japan, leaving a job can feel like a betrayal. Some bosses refuse to accept resignations, acting like quitting simply isn't an option. There are even stories of employees literally kneeling and begging to be let go. With so many obstacles to turn over, underperforming workers stick around, making it harder for companies to innovate. Now, you might be wondering, why do they work so hard if it doesn't always seem to pay off? Well, the reason Japanese people work so hard goes way back in history. And to really understand it, we have to start with the Meiji Restoration in 1868. That was when Japan decided it was time to catch up with the industrialized countries in the West. They were determined to become powerful and wealthy, and they succeeded. But it came at a cost. Modernizing the country meant working incredibly hard, and over time, that work ethic became deeply ingrained in Japanese society. Even after Japan became one of the richest countries in the world, the habit of overworking never really went away. Back then, the focus wasn't on the individual worker. It was all about the company as a whole. Loyalty to the company was everything, and that meant companies often ignored the rights of their employees. Labor unions weren't strong enough to fight for better conditions, and this culture of sacrifice for the greater good took root. Another reason Japanese people work so much is this idea of convenience. 24/7 stores, lightning-fast delivery services. It's amazing for customers. But behind the scenes, employees are working insane hours to make it happen. The country runs like clockwork, but that efficiency comes with a heavy price. Japanese work culture is a double-edged sword. On one side, hard work and dedication are deeply respected, giving people a strong sense of pride in their achievements. But on the flip side, the relentless pressure to be perfect and always stay busy can take a serious toll. The workload can be overwhelming, and there's often an unspoken rule to keep pushing yourself until you physically can't anymore. There's even a word for it, karoshi, which means death by overwork. Now, the term karoshi really caught global attention in 2015 after the heartbreaking case of Matsuri Takahashi. But the problem goes back much further, even to the early 1900s. In Nagano, silk factory workers were forced to work around 14 hours a day, and the brutal conditions led to many deaths. This was the beginning of the history of karoshi. In the late 1970s, Japanese doctors started using the word karoshi when they noticed a disturbing trend. More and more people were collapsing, their bodies giving out after years of relentless stress. At first, it seemed like a few isolated cases, but as Japan's economy skyrocketed, so did the number of these tragedies. By the late 1980s, when the economic boom began to lose steam, the problem was no longer something society could ignore. The causes of karoshi are brutal, yet simple. Strokes and heart attacks, brought on by extreme exhaustion, claimed lives silently and swiftly. In 2015, the Japan Times reported 96 such deaths in a single year. That same year, Japanese police recorded 2,159 suicides tied to work-related stress. It wasn't just the hours, it was the crushing pressure to perform, to never show weakness. The consequences weren't limited to individuals. Families, friends, and entire communities felt the ripple effects of burnout and loss. But the roots of this culture of overwork go deeper than long hours. The structure of Japanese workplaces is like a carefully balanced ecosystem. At the top of the office hierarchy are the senior staff, experienced, watchful, like eagles surveying the landscape below. Junior employees, by contrast, work diligently at the bottom, more like ants, carrying out tasks with precision and deference. The juniors are expected to learn, slowly climbing the corporate ladder, while seniors act as mentors, offering guidance and wisdom. It's a delicate balance, a tightrope that everyone walks. For a junior, one mistake could shatter their future, dreams broken like glass. For a senior, a slip could mean losing the respect that years of hard work had earned. Everyone plays their role carefully to keep the office machine running smoothly. But that same system, so focused on order and tradition, often stifles creativity. Taking risks feels dangerous. Employees who step out of line may face subtle, or not so subtle, forms of discrimination and bullying. If someone doesn't fit the mold of the ideal worker, the consequences can be severe. The way people work in Japan has a profound impact on their lives, and it's not always easy to see the good side. Long hours, relentless pressure, and a strict hierarchy can take a heavy toll on people's health and well-being. Now, to be clear, this isn't how every single company operates. Japan isn't one size fits all. But a lot of workplaces indeed have a certain intensity. Some employees find themselves in environments where the rules are unfair, the bosses are difficult, and the hours never seem to end. These kinds of companies are known as buraku gaisha, or black companies, named for their exploitative practices. But here's the flip side. Japan also has plenty of progressive companies that are changing the game. These places offer reasonable work hours, solid parental leave for both moms and dads, flexible schedules, and fair treatment for foreign employees and working mothers. On top of that, they pay a decent salary, something that unfortunately isn't a given everywhere. The reality is, yes, there are bad companies out there, but there are ways to spot them. Asking the right questions during an interview can reveal a lot, and if possible, talking to someone who's worked there before can give the inside scoop. It might take a little extra effort, but isn't it worth it to land a job where you're respected and treated fairly? But even with the downsides, many people in Japan still hold a deep belief in hard work and dedication. For them, a job isn't just a paycheck, it's a source of pride and belonging. But the world is changing, and Japanese work culture is starting to adapt. There's a growing movement, both in Japan and globally, to find a healthier balance between work and life. People are realizing that taking care of their mental and physical health isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Of course, it's a delicate balance. Japan needs to stay competitive on the global stage, but companies are starting to understand that taking care of their workers is part of that equation. More and more, they're offering flexible work options and encouraging employees to create a balance that works for them. It's still early days, but the shift is happening, and that's a step in the right direction. One of the most interesting developments: there are now companies in Japan that specialize in helping people quit their jobs. One of the biggest is called Momori. For around €140, they'll handle the resignation process. And in just 2 years, they've helped over 11,000 people walk away from bad jobs. Now, similar companies are popping up with names like Let's Quit and Goodbye. Depending on how difficult the situation is, they charge between 20,000 and 50,000 yen. The demand for these services really spikes after Golden Week in late April. That's when many people experience May sickness, a post-holiday slump that hits younger workers the hardest. More and more of them are deciding they don't have to put up with toxic work environments. And they're right. They're quitting in search of something better, and they're using these agencies to make the transition easier. It's a cultural shift that could lead to a much-needed balance between work and personal life. Japan's experience offers a powerful reminder that workplaces don't exist in a vacuum. They reflect the culture around them. And as Japan works toward healthier, more sustainable work environments, there's a lot the rest of the world can learn from their journey.